Council to order for Monday, November 8th. I'll rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a moment of silence for all the fallen veterans? Thank you.
May I also add that we lost an employee for the golf course and marina, and a moment of silence for the Hildebrandski family in memory of David, whose funeral was today. Thank you.
Carmen, roll call.
Alexander. Spitali.
Here.
Venez.
Here.
Kelwinski.
Here.
Torres.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Emerson.
Here.
Rakos.
Here.
Warple.
Here, let the record show 8 present, 1 absent. All 8 members are in chambers. Phil, Mayor's address.
Good evening, Mr. President and Hammond City Council. I'm going to be quick. I just have 2 items to share this evening. First, I know everybody in here is aware of the Hessville Bridge project that I think we've talked about quite a bit, just off of Parrish Avenue. In fact, I know we approved some of our American Rescue Plan dollars for that specific project just recently, probably last month or so. However, we have had recently at some of our public meetings a few people that have been outspoken against the project because of the Briar East Woods and some of the trees that would be have to be removed, and obviously they have other concerns as well. So what we're doing in response to that is we are going to send out a survey to the folks in Hessville, the residents in Hessville that will be directly impacted by the bridge project. We want to hear from them as to, do they support the project or do they not? And they'll have an opportunity through this survey to give other comments as far as what concerns or other opinions they may have as well. The people that will be getting the survey, it will be Kennedy Avenue to the west, 165th Street to the north, the Sound Wall to the south, and Grand Avenue to the east. So that gives you a general idea of the homeowners that will receive the survey. Each household will get 1 survey. They will have 1 vote and 1 response. We're not doing it how many people per house. And we're going to need to have them back by December 7th because we want to announce the results to everybody at our Mayor's Night Out on December 8th. The survey will give them an opportunity to give different responses as far as how much the trains have impacted them adversely over the years since they obviously live in Hessville, or if they haven't, they'll be able to share that as well. We've done this several times in the past. We've done it for Boy Scout Road in the past. There was one for South Hammond for a street closure that we were looking at. The surveys have, had mixed results, and depending on the results of the survey will depend on whether this project goes forward. Now, obviously, this was a project that we're using local tracks funds to match our funds. I believe we were closer to somewhere in the $2 million range, and the project altogether is $11 million, so we're getting a lot of value from this program that we're using to build the bridge. But again, we want to hear directly from the residents that will be impacted by this project. So that survey will be going out in the next 10 days. If any of you know Hessville families, please encourage them to respond to the survey no matter what their opinion is on this particular project. Secondly, I just want to give a quick update on something that has bothered me for a very long time, and I know it's bothered most of you too, and that's the Columbia Avenue fence. This is just north of 165th Street. There was a fence that was constructed many years ago. It was there long before I started 14 years ago, so I know it was longer than that, probably closer to 16, 17 years ago. When it was constructed, it was constructed on residents' properties. So as the fence has been deteriorating over the years, and we've all seen panels have been knocked out, kicked out, the weather has affected it. It really has become an eyesore in the area. If you drive by it now, you see blankets on top of the fence, you see tarp. It really is not a good example of the city of Hammond when you drive by. We have been trying to work on replacing this fence for quite a while. It's been a challenge because of the fact that it is on residential property. If it was on city property, you just find the funding for it, you replace it, we're done. In this situation, we had to reach out to every resident who part of the fence resides and ask them to sign a paper to give us permission to replace the fence. Almost every resident did. However, there are two, what I will call holdouts at this time, that have not signed the paper. And we are at the point now where we're done waiting. Our attorney has sent a couple letters to these residents, being very direct on what we're trying to accomplish. At this point, we're going to move forward with the fence project. If the two residents won't sign, then they're going to basically have an empty open yard, because right now they're holding up the entire neighborhood getting a nice new fence. So I'm not giving the residents names or calling out any specific addresses, but let's hope that the two houses that have not responded to date will respond once they receive the letter from our corporation council. But as I said, we are going to move forward with this project either way. And in that area, if you've driven by, and I know all the council people do on a regular basis, we're seeing a lot of improvement over there. The water tower has finally been done and fixed. There was a building just south of it that's been an eyesore that has just been renovated and looks great. It looks modern, it looks clean, no more broken windows. We know there's a state agency that's going to be leasing that building. It's been fixed. The old Legends Bar has been completely renovated and painted and looks nice. The old Stardust Bowling Alley is now the indoor storage facility that we're all aware of that looks very nice. And obviously they've done a lot of landscaping to make sure people going by on the bike path wouldn't be looking at, an old eyesore or deteriorated site. So this fence, I think, goes along with a lot of the other improvement that we're seeing specifically in this area. So it's exciting to announce to you that it's going to get done one way or another. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Yes, Phil? I seem to recall many years ago when the homes were built with the backyard to Columbia Avenue. That's on Reverend Burns Drive, I believe. I seem to recall that the homeowners signed an agreement that they would be responsible for the fence. What happened to that?
Great question. So you may recall, and this is many years ago, there were a number of boxes of paperwork that planning and development had that disappeared. We at this point have to assume some of the agreements were in those boxes. This was in the Times. This was a long time ago. It was in an indoor storage unit, and somehow they disappeared. I believe at the time Mayor Delo was the mayor. We at this point assume that the paperwork was in there because we can't find the agreements. We don't have anything specific that says what the city was going to do in the future, because obviously just because you're constructing a fence, it's going to get worn as time goes on. I believe the same thing as you, Councilwoman Venez, that the residents knew that in the future they were going to have to fix their own fence. However, at this point, that is not an option, because a lot of the residents just can't do it or won't do it. So if we don't do it, we're going to continuously keep driving by this area and deal with what we're dealing with right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Councilman Torres.
what's the target date for the renovation of this fence?
That's the good news. We've been told by the fence company that they can actually construct the fence in the wintertime. So I think we're giving a little bit more time to see if we get a response from the two holdout homeowners. But either way, you should see the fence constructed sometime in the winter, whether that's December or January. You know, I can't say 100% because we are giving a little bit of leeway for responses for these homeowners that have not yet. And I should mention, I saw Councilman Tyler speak up. Councilman Tyler and Mayor Tom are sharing the cost for the fence reconstruction project. Thank you very much, Councilman Tyler, for something obviously it's very much needed.
Mr. President.
Councilman Tyler.
Thanks, Phil. As you know, this is something that we've been talking about and trying to work towards for well over a year now. I hand-delivered letters to all the residents that live on those few blocks of Reverend Burns Drive, I think back in November of last year, saying that our target date was to get this project completed by the middle of this year, and of course that didn't happen. And no fault of anyone working in the city. I want to go on record and saying that we've been trying to get the residents, as you shared, to sign these agreements, and we didn't want to move forward without every single resident signing one. So now our hand is kind of forced because we don't want to wait much longer because it is an eyesore. We've had reports of people coming off of Columbia Avenue, walking through people's backyards. So there's been some issues connected to this, and so I'm happy that we're going to move forward with it. And thank you for the mayor, because I thought I was going to end up covering the cost 100%, but he spoke up and is willing to go half on it with me, so I really appreciate that. So thank you to all the residents who have been responding, everybody who's been helpful in this project. The fence, I want to say, is over 20 years old. I think Mayor McDermott was sharing today. So it is time for a new one, and Councilwoman Venez, the new agreement is just for the residents to allow us to go on their property to remove the old fence and erect a new fence, and then it is our responsibility moving forward to take care of it. So we shouldn't run into an issue like this in the future because it will be the city's responsibility. There's also a good warranty that we're getting from the company that's installing the fence in terms of any damage that should happen to it too. So I think we're covering all of our bases this time, so I'm excited to get this thing done. Thanks, Phil.
And let me mention, thank you, Councilman Tyler, there's no cost burden to the homeowners whatsoever if they just sign the paper and allow us to reconstruct the fence. Also want to thank Africa Tarver, our Executive Director of Planning and Development. I know she walked some of the streets and the houses as well trying to get signatures. So I don't know if she's here. Thank you to her as well.
Mr. President.
Councilman Emerson.
Along those lines, another fence in the 3rd District, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's the old Fareed Brothers storage area on Conkey, and it runs to Kenwood, I believe. And this is like a 4-block fence, and it used to be just the mesh fence, and weeds would grow up, and weeds would turn into trees actually, and they completely cut all the trees down, and the fence goes from Conkey to, I believe, Kenwood by the cemetery, and it's really great. And whether it has anything to do with the train, I don't know, but it was sorely needed, and it looks great. And that's in the 3rd.
And I believe they renovated the building on that property too, if we're thinking about the same property off of Conkey Street. Yep. They tuck pointed it. It looks so much better. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I obviously worked on Conkey Street for many years prior to coming to City Hall. Yeah. And yeah, they did a great job. I agree.
Councilman Kowinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Maybe I heard it wrong, but are we using public dollars on private property?
We are. So we obviously spoke to attorneys to make sure that this was legal, and it is. Because we constructed the fence many years ago, and I'm not sure if at the time they did that how they did it, because the paperwork's missing, so we don't know exactly how it was financed or how it was legally done. But because the city constructed the fence, our attorney is saying we can legally replace it as long as we have the residents' approval to allow us to replace the fence that we originally put up.
And we have proof that we put it up?
I know everybody kind of knows we did it. When you say proof, I mean, I'm sure there's something in the minutes that show that we put it up. I think we do have paperwork showing that we did construct the fence. What we don't have is something signed by the residents saying that the city will, or they will maintain the fence going forward as there are issues that come up. Does that make sense? So there is paperwork talking about the fence project, and there are minutes from meetings talking about the project being completed by the city. I don't think we have any paperwork showing that Hammond residents knew that they had to take ownership of the fence after it was constructed.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else have any questions? Thanks, Phil. Item number 4, approval of minutes.
President,
Councilman Spitali.
motion to accept the minutes from October 25th, 2021 be placed on file, please.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilman Spitali, seconded by Councilman Emerson. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Carmen, roll call.
Alexander, Spitali,
Yes.
Vines,
Yes.
Kalwinski,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Rakos,
Yes.
Warple.
Yes, let the record show 8 in favor, 1 absent. Item number 5, approval of claims.
Mr. President,
Councilman Rakos.
make a motion to pay claims claims dated 10/29/21 and ending with claims dated 11/03/2021. Claim number 5383 through claim number 5639, the amount of $5,555,305.25.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilman Rakos, seconded by Councilwoman Vines. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Carmen, roll call.
Alexander, Spitali, Vines,
Yes.
Kalwinski,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Rakos,
Yes.
Warple.
Yes, let the record show 8 in favor, 1 absent. Item number 6, public hearings.
$21.43, an ordinance vacating a 22,690 square foot portion of Forsyth Square lying between 119th Street, Warwick Avenue, Hammond Court, and Forsyth Square in the 1900 block of Forsyth Square in the city of Hammond, Lake County, Indiana.
Does anybody wish to speak on this issue? Hello, George.
Hey, how you doing?
How are
Robert
you?
Stoya, Robertsdale.
Hammond.
Nobody knows what's going on. You vacated some property. I assume that you either sold it for a nominal sum to some developer, and nobody knows if he's going to build condos, if he's going to build a store, if he's going to make a parking lot out of it. I don't know. Nobody knows. And it'd be nice to know. There's never any discussion here. What's going on? For example, I like Phil's idea. Let's get a survey and run it out there on all the people around 119th, see what they want to do with it. That would be nice. Certainly doubt it's going to happen, but nonetheless, the idea is there, and I think it's a good idea. But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to worry about it. But we'd like to know what's going on.
Mr. Smith, would you like to respond to that? Or shall I say, does anybody else wish to respond to his concerns?
Excuse me, I would like to point out that we had a committee meeting at 5:15 and discussed this at length. So, Thanks, George.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I mean, it's not a meeting. Not everybody goes.
He's going to go ahead
Okay,
and,
we'll talk.
you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, council. My name is Nicholas Smith with Smith Hunter Real Estate Investments. I also have my colleague and partner, Nancy Frigo, with All Star Services, and our attorney, Joe Svetnoff. We have proposed a development for the Forsyth Square piece of property. We have been working diligently, and we are extremely appreciative of the efforts of the city staff, Brian Poland, Ann Anderson, and Africa Tarver. We're proposing 8 townhomes on this lot right now. It will be a configuration of 3 on the north side of that property, 2 in the middle, and 3 on the south side. There's still some other processes that we have to work with the city on, but that is the overall proposal that we've submitted to the city at this time.
Hi, Nancy Frigo, and it's going to be a lovely, beautiful development there, sir, and it really will be a benefit to the area. Yeah. Anytime you have any questions, just ask. We'd love to share that with you. But thank you very much.
Again, this is a proposal to vacate the property.
I'm David Pustek, and I live in Robertsdale on New York Avenue. In November or December, I recall reading something where this particular Forsyth Square, that your council was considering developers on this. But I didn't hear anything after that. At the last council meeting, an ordinance was presented, and again, it was very shy, very vague as to what's going on with this property. And I didn't know that we were going to do it today again, otherwise I would have had something written prepared. Okay. And just so happens today, I went to the property. I was shopping at Stratton Fentills, and it's right there. So I went to that property to look it over. And there were 2 fathers and their kids playing catch, which is what the property is supposed to be for. Okay? So I guess what I want to say is, Councilman Klawinski, the 2 at-large council members, they don't live in Robertsdale. I don't think they fairly represent Robertsdale for us. If they did, and if they were serious, they would go an extra effort to ask the residents what they want, and then also listen to their response. Now, I talked with these 2 fathers, and they knew nothing about it. And they were very upset that this is happening without their knowledge. So again, this is another process that seems to be rigged because of lack of communication. That's all I have.
Does anybody else wish to speak during during the public hearing?
Mr. President?
Councilwoman Venez.
I'd like to request, Phil, certainly, Brian Poland, if you could please come to the podium and explain the process that there are steps that must be followed in order to accomplish a project of this nature.
First of all, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, no, Brian definitely will be able to talk to you about the process that we went through to get to this point and asking for the vacation today. I just wanted to bring up that, the city of Hammond is looking for new areas that we can bring in new residential opportunities for people. I believe the city has done a good job, the council and the mayor, of laying the groundwork to create an environment that is attractive for families. However, we have an older housing stock throughout the entire city. I hear this constantly from people that maybe are looking at the city of Hammond. They want some new, more modern housing available, and we found that out through any project we've done in the city that we've built homes. They sell before the house is completed. We found that out in Robertsdale on Lake Avenue. We saw what the city of Whiting has done, buying older houses, combining them, building bigger homes. We've seen what they've done. I can't remember the name of the development in Whiting, where they've constructed homes that are $400,000, $500,000. So we know in the city of Hammond we have a challenge of finding areas to put new housing in that will be attractive to families. We're looking at it at the Clark Fields. We're looking at it in Hessville off of Florida Avenue, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. We built homes in Parish Square. They sold as soon as we built them. So we know if we find the areas that we build new housing, people will come, they will buy them, they will pay taxes in our city, and it relieves some of the burden from the rest of us. There's been projects that we've taken on where we've removed housing, including the old River Park apartments, which I know all of us are very familiar with. When you do something like that, although it was a great decision because we were having so many police issues there, but we lost a lot of population in that area when that happened. So now's the time to start looking throughout the entire city for areas that we can construct new types of housing. We've heard from people if there are townhouses or townhomes available, if there are new ranch-style homes available, if there are condominiums available. We're seeing what's going on in downtown Hammond with the apartments that are going to be constructed. We know that we've got to find more opportunities throughout the entire city. This is one of those opportunities that we're looking at. Brian can speak better to the process that we went through, including the RFQ, I believe it was, when we were looking at trying to figure out what type of housing would fit well at this site.
Bill?
Yes.
Just for clarification, this just wasn't an idea that was thought up 2 weeks ago, correct?
The meetings we've had about this particular site.
Public meetings?
I don't know how many public, so through redevelopment, I'm sure there were some public meetings, but let's talk internally for a second. We've been talking about this site for well over a year. We've been working on this project. So this has been going on a long time. A lot of internal meetings about it, but Ann Anderson's bringing up that redevelopment has had meetings on this as well. So again, I'm giving you the thought process as to we've got to find more areas for new housing. I understand that maybe there's people out there as a Hammond resident that think I don't want any new people moving into my area or my neighborhood. I suppose that could be a thought process, but in the end, the more businesses you bring, the more new residents you bring, the more taxes they pay, the less burden on everybody else. And when you bring in new, more modern housing, you also become more attractive to a different demographic that won't come because right now they don't want to buy a house that was built in 1940s. You know, a lot of us do, some don't. So you just want to make sure you have different types of opportunities for different people. I don't know if I long-winded answer. I'm sorry. Brian.
Thank you. State your name.
State your name. Brian Poland, Director of City Planning. The Redevelopment Commission embarked upon this process basically last year at this time, and that there was an RFP that went out for soliciting or developers who were interested in developing housing at this site. Through the Redevelopment Commission process, there was a lot of discussions as far as reviewing the qualifications of the proposals, getting an idea of what type of development can occur. And then we started getting into some of the technical aspects of it. We've been looking at different options and site plans, and that's where what was discussed in the caucus was that we kind of settled on the 8 townhouses with 3 buildings with 3 units grouped together, then 2 units, and then 3 units. So the property we're talking about technically is in the right-of-way, so that is why this is a process to vacate that right-of-way. That converts the area into real property or taxable property. Once this process is completed, this is in essence the first step in a series of processes that have to occur. But once this is completed, we can now take the steps through the Plan Commission, The Plan Commission will have to approve a subdivision, so it becomes a proper legal description. And then the Plan Commission will have to do a recommendation on the proper zoning based on the number of units and the size of the property. The council will then act upon the rezoning to approve it or as you see fit to handle it. After that point, we'll really get into do the deep dive into the details of the development. At this point, I don't know if there's going to be any variances. That's yet to be determined, but that would be another step through the Board of Zoning Appeals should that occur. Just so everybody understands, the Plan Commission process and the BZA process are public hearing processes. They are public notification processes. So there will be, for the rezoning, for example, and the variances, all property owners within 300 feet will be receiving certified mails about when those meetings are going to occur.
Thank you, Brian.
You only get one time to speak, sir.
No.
No. Does anybody else wish to speak on this issue? Does anybody else wish to speak on this issue? Does anybody else wish to speak on this issue? Hearing none, public hearing is now closed. Item number 7, communications. Does anybody have any communications? Does anybody have any communications? Hearing none, communications are now closed. Item number 8, committee reports.
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Venez.
Yes, council as a whole will be bringing out 2143 and 2144. I also have a Capital Improvements Board report, and I have nothing to report this evening as we did not meet on November 1st because there was no pending business. Our next meeting will be November 15th at 4 p.m. here in the council chambers. And Mr. President, I'll continue with Crime Watch. As usual, I'd like to announce the upcoming Community and Crime Watch meetings. Coming up on December 1st, Edison Community Watch will meet at 6:30 p.m. at Edison School. Edison Community Watch on the Road will meet tomorrow, November 9th, at 1 p.m. at the Golden Manor Senior Apartments. Harrison Park Crime Watch will meet Tuesday, December 7th, 6:30 p.m. at the VFW on Homan Avenue. Hessville Crime Watch will meet Thursday, November 18th at the Gene Shepherd Center at 6 p.m. Irving Community Watch will meet Friday, December 3rd, 9:15 a.m. at Irving School. Whiting Robertsdale Crime Watch will meet Thursday, November 11th. And yes, that is Veterans Day, and they are holding their meeting still. That will be at 6:30 p.m. At Calumet College. Also, Hammond Elderly will meet on December 9th at 1 p.m. at their building. I would like to point out that we always ask people to say something if you see something, anything that's suspicious at all. And we had a real unfortunate incident on Halloween that an individual was apprehended because the neighbors got involved. They saw where this person went. They said he's over there, and as he ran, they were able to follow him. So please, really make an effort to keep your neighborhood safe. Come to your Crime Watch meetings and get some tips for the safety of your property, yourself, and your family. Because community is not just about me, it's about us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Does anybody else have anything under committee reports? Anybody else have anything under committee reports? Hearing none, committee reports are now closed. Item number 9, ordinance, third reading and final passage.
2143, an ordinance vacating a 22,690 square foot portion of Forsyth Square lying between 119th Street, Warwick Avenue, Hammond Court, and Forsyth Square in the 1900 block of Forsyth Square in the city of Hammond, Lake County, Indiana.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Vines.
I move for final passage of 2143.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilwoman Vines for final passage and adoption, seconded by Councilman Spitali. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Vines.
Yes, we've had discussions this evening in the public hearing, also in caucus, and there was a committee meeting. The plan for this property is 8 townhomes, and it would be a very nice addition to the neighborhood, and I'm asking for your support.
Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Kowinski.
Thank you. In response to being transparent, about a year ago, I wrote an article in The Right Stuff mentioning that soil samplings, soil borings were taking place on Forsyth Square in connection with development on that entire block. So it hit every front door in my district, that paper does. So up until now, there hasn't been any movement to report on till this vacation ordinance appeared. So I just want to be clear that this was reported when I knew something was going to be happening, and preliminarily that was soil bearings. I think Ann Anderson can verify that. And what I knew then is what I wrote in the article. So I think that the residents of the First District were given information about a year ago about what might be coming, and up until this point in time, we had no new information about anything till the vacation of the property occurred. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Carmen, roll call.
Alexander? Spitali?
Yes.
Vines?
Yes.
Kalwinski?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Emerson?
Yes.
Rakos?
Yes.
Warple?
Yes, let the record show 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent.
2144, an ordinance creating a new fund, Fund 297, for fiscal year 2022, Lake County Drunk Driving Task Force grant funds.
President,
Councilman Spitali.
final passage of 21-44.
Second.
Motion's been made for final passage and adoption by Councilman Spitali, seconded by Councilwoman Vines. Is there any discussion?
President,
Councilman Spitali.
it comes before us every year, the purpose of providing drunk driving injuries and fatalities for the amount of $80,000. And basically, that's it.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Carmen, roll call.
Alexander? Spitali?
Yes.
Vines?
Yes.
Kalwinski?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Emerson?
Yes.
Rakos?
Yes.
Warple.
Yes, let the record show, 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent. Ordinance passes. Is that it on the ordinances, or we got another one?
That ends,
Pardon me?
that ends ordinance under third reading, final passage.
Thank you. Item number 10, introduction of ordinances.
2145, an ordinance creating new funds, Funds 274, Fund 277, Fund 279, Fund 289, for fiscal year 2022 Comprehensive Highway Injury Reduction Program, CHIRP, grant funds.
President,
Councilman Spitali.
for first and second reading, include the council as a whole, meeting set for November 22nd, 2021.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilman Spitali, seconded by Councilwoman Venez. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman
the
Venez.
time of the committee meeting?
5:15.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Carmen, roll call.
Alexander, Spitali,
Yes.
Venez,
Yes.
Kalwinski,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Rakos,
Yes.
Warple.
Yes, let the record show, 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 absent. That concludes introduction of ordinances. Item number 11, resolutions, there are none. Item number 12, new and unfinished business. Two things real fast. By the next meeting, we have 3 council appointments up, from what I can tell on the sheet. They're all up as far as December 31st, and that is the Redevelopment Commission. We got 2 commissioners. The current commissioners are Miriam Soto Presley and Gregory Myricks. And there's also a vacancy on the Gaming Advisory Board, Melissa Farrell. We can do that either by resolution or just in new and unfinished business, whenever the council wishes. The other thing is, after like we discussed last week, we decided that there will be no second meeting in December, so I'll entertain a motion to cancel that second meeting on December, what is it?
27th.
December 27th.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made to cancel the meeting on December 27th by Councilwoman Venez, seconded by Councilman Spitali. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Tyler?
sorry I missed this after I thought we were done with the caucus, but we affirm that we don't need that meeting for purposes for the controller. All right.
I've spoken with the controller, and she said it's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Carmen, roll call.
Alexander, Spitali,
Yes.
Venez,
Yes.
Kalwinski,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Rakos,
Yes.
Warple.
Yes, let the record show, 8 in favor, 0 opposed, with 1 absent. Is there anything else under new and unfinished business? Is there anything else under new and unfinished business?
Mr. President,
Councilman Emerson.
I would like to thank everybody that came out to the Veterans Appreciation Day Parade. And one of our own, Councilman Dan Spitali, was the Grand Marshal, and he did a great job in his post-brief speech. He said a lot of things that touched a lot of hearts, and I want to thank everybody for coming out. And that was our 8th annual parade. I don't know if I mentioned that, but you did a good job, Councilman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And he made the Channel 7 news.
That was a great speech, by the way, Councilman.
Mr. President.
Councilman Kowinski?
Thank you. I too would like to extend gratitude and thanks to the Whiting Lions Club and Congressman Mervan for participating at the War Memorial at Forsyth Park, the laying of bricks for veterans on Saturday for the Veteran Day celebration that is conducted at Forsyth Park. It was well attended, and 15 more bricks were laid in the ground to honor veterans serving in the various armed forces. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything under new and unfinished business?
Mr. President,
Councilman Tyler.
I just want to send condolences to Councilwoman Alexander. She's spending time with her family after her uncle passed away. The services are tomorrow. So from us here at the council with the city, just want to give her family our prayers and condolences as they mourn his passing.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything under new and unfinished business? Does anybody else have anything under new and unfinished business? Hearing none, new and unfinished business is closed. Public expression, the first one to sign the list is George Stoya.
Me again, George Stoya, Robertsdale. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, maybe longer, I stopped going to the caucus meetings because I objected to not so much the format, but to the consequences or the results of them, because everything was discussed in there and nothing out here. It's like it was a fait accompli once it got out here. Nobody knows anything. We look at these agendas, we don't know what's going on. So when I raise an issue, simply because a councilman may sponsor a proposal of some kind, doesn't ipso facto make it the best thing since sliced bread. No, not in my mind anyway. So if I want to question something, I will, anytime. You don't determine the scope of my discourse, my criticism, my critique, my questions. And I resent it, because you're just a councilman. You may wield some power, but every 4 years we are asked to evaluate your performance, your positions, your decisions, and your judgment. And how are we going to do so if everything that we're supposed to use, the information we're supposed to have, how are we supposed to do that? How are we supposed to make an informed vote, an informed decision on how well you're doing, how well you're supposedly representing us, if everything goes on in there? I don't like it. I still don't like it. And I'm grateful that President Werpel asked these people, these developers, to come up. Thank you. That's all I wanted was an explanation. If I don't like it, then there's going to be further meetings, public meetings, that will wherein I can develop my critique, my analysis, whatever, my position or objections, or for that matter, my support. So I really don't like the fact that I've got a council person here, acting like I've somehow offended the council by raising an issue about public information. So that's the sum and substance of it. And I appreciate Phil's, explanation, discourse, and Brian's. That's all I asked for. Hey, it's nice to know. I live down there. But there's other places, too, that I'd like to know of. For example, when is Hammond Avenue going to open up? I raised it last time I was here. I'm going to raise it every time I'm here. When's it going to open up? You open up Chicago Avenue at Columbia when they were doing some serious excavating there. It managed to open up. We get traffic going across there. It was a little rough, but hey, it was open. So I don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. Again, I'll bet it's discussed internally, and then one councilman says that, oh, well, I wrote something in the right stuff, but, that's rather abstract. And it's not really concrete information, cash and carry stuff. There's a few references made to, I did some soil boring. So fine, it could be anything. But now we're learning they're townhomes. There's 8 of them. There's meat and bones on these proposals. So I really, I don't understand the outrage or the hostility from anyone on this council because I raised an issue or a question. And and get used to it, because if I've got something to say, you guys know me by now, I'm going to say it.
Thank you, George. And just for the record, since COVID hit, we do the council meetings in here, and they are, I'm sorry, the caucus meetings in here, and they are on Zoom.
Right, all I'm saying is, if you don't get to the caucus meeting, then the stuff should be discussed on the floor, at least a mention of what's going on, that's all, maybe,
Thank you, George. David, is it Pustek? No? Okay. No one else wishes to speak. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded by Councilwoman Venez. Carmen, roll call.
Alexander, Spitali.
Yes.
Venez,
Yes.
Kalwinski,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Rakos,
Yes.
Warple.
Yes.